Hey everyone, welcome to the 2025 Q&A video. Thank you so much to those who took the time to submit your questions for this annual video. So without further ado, let's get to some questions. Have you ever tried to take part of a photo charter event, whether if it's steam or diesel? I have done a photo charter on the Ever Railroad back in 2016, but would love to do another charter at another railroad at some point. What would you do in your spare time when you aren't making any weekly update videos? Take mental breaks, plan for any future trips to see other trains. I'll try my best to post more rail fanning videos this year, weather permitting. Did you ever watch some programs made by Railway Productions or Greg Scholl, either on YouTube, DVD, or VHS? So far, I have watched the White Pass and Yukon from Railway Productions and SPNS 700 at Washington Steamfest by Greg Scholl. What are my plans for 2025? Besides Railfan updates and announcements videos, the YouTube channel's 10-year anniversary video should come out sometime this spring, and possibly see more steam trains that I have not seen operating before. Which railroad museums or tourist lines would you want to go visit in New York State? I would love to ride the Arcade and Attica Railroad, the Adirondack Scenic Railroad, and visit the Rochester and Genesee Valley Railroad Museum. Do you think that C&O 614 and 2716 should double head together once 614 is completed? Yes, but also when 2716's restoration is completed. Do you like scale trains running with steam and diesel locomotives? Yes. Do you think Big Boy 4014 should visit Silvis, Illinois to reunite with 3985 and 5511 and possibly do a triple header? I think 4014 should visit Silvis at some point. A triple header with all three locomotives seems a little excessive in my opinion. Do you think Santa Fe 2926, 3759, and 3751 should triple head together once 3759 could get restored? Honestly, no, simply because there are no plans nor a need to restore 3759 because 3751 is already operational. A doubleheader with 2926 and 3751, however, would be perfect. Did you visit all tourist railroads such as the New Hope and Ivyland Railroad, the Strasburg Railroad, the Bellefonte Railroad? Haven't been on all tourist railroads, but the ones I would love to ride on in the future are the Adirondack Railroad, the White Pass and Yukon, the Conway Scenic Railroad, and even the New Hope and Ivyland and Bellefonte Railroad. Do you think that every static steam locomotive should be brought back to life for operation? I honestly don't think so because not every steam locomotive is suitable for excursion use. Have you ever had the chance to drive a steam or diesel locomotive? Back in the summer 2019, I got to operate former Norfolk and Western GP9 number 620 during a Next Generation Railroaders boot camp at the North Carolina Transportation Museum. What are your thoughts on Brightline West and California High-Speed Rail? I'm very excited for both of them, and I fully support high-speed rail because as population growth takes place, highways will get busier to the point where travel time on the roads will increase, especially when there's an accident or construction on the road. If there was one country outside the US you would visit to try its rail system, which would it be? I would love to visit Canada and take Via Rail's transcontinental train, the Canadian, from Toronto, Ontario to Vancouver, British Columbia. What was your first ever train ride experience? From what I remember, the Strasburg Railroad. Did you know that Rio Grande 36 is hopefully supposed to be done late in 2025? I actually didn't know that, but it sounds very exciting. What are your thoughts about Southern Pacific Narrow Gauge number 9 potentially being restored to operation? I think it'll be worth restoring to service, seeing how successful SP-18 has been as it visited other railroads including the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, as well as the Nevada State Railroad Museum in Carson City. What are your thoughts on Grizzly Flats Emma Nevada steam locomotive being restored to operation? I think it will be great to have another operating steam locomotive at the Southern California Railway Museum, along with Ventura County Railway number 2. Did you also know that the San Joaquin and Eastern Caboose number 51 is slowly being restored by the Eastern Fresno County Historical Society? I did not know that either. The more rail equipment being well preserved, the better. What inspired you to start doing railfan updates and announcements videos? I was ultimately inspired by Trains magazine when they used to make Trains Newswire Roundup every week until June 2019, also to show people what really goes on in rail preservation and potential passenger rail service with reliable sources as museums or tourist railroads themselves to help prevent rumors from spreading. If rumors are spread, then opportunities may be missed out. What is the one rail preservation project that has been under most people's radar that you're excited for? Pennsylvania Railroad 1361 because it will travel to different railroads, have a Pennsylvania Railroad passenger car train set to go with it, use it for excursions and events with some education thrown in, as some of the passenger cars will be converted into exhibit cars. Favorite steam train that you have ridden on, the Cass Scenic Railroad in West Virginia. If a US 464 were to run again, which ones would you like to see back on the rails? Probably Chesapeake and Ohio 490, which is currently on display at the B&O Railroad Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. Would it be possible if a triple-header excursion with Norfolk and Western 611, Reading 2100, and 2102 in the future on NS trackage, with all the insurance costs that the Class 1 railroads require? Unfortunately, it is very unlikely. How many steam locomotives are there in the United States that are operational or being restored? Over 170 steam locomotives are currently in operation, getting restored, or getting FRA boiler inspections in the US, which is pretty mind-blowing to say the least. Can you make a video that lists every steam locomotive in the United States that operates? Possibly. Have you heard of the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad? If so, what's your favorite locomotive on the roster? I have definitely heard of that railroad, and my favorite steam locomotive on the roster is number 12 simply because it is the only operational one. If you could own a steam locomotive that you could restore and run on the main line, which one would it be? Probably the Frisco 1522. Opinions on the East Broad Top, Denver and Rio Grande Western, Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, and the Rio Grande Southern Railroad. They are simply very historic railroads. What is your favorite road electric switching locomotive? Probably the Pennsylvania Railroad B1 electrics. Which locomotive looks better, Milwaukee Road Class F7s or the New York Central Hudsons, the Milwaukee Road F7s? If the technology came earlier, could we have seen more successful duplex locomotives? That depends on duplexes from different railroads. There were challenges in terms of maintenance with the Pennsylvania Railroad T1's Type A valves, but later on Type B valves became available, but the diesels were already taken over. Fast forward to the present, the T1 Trust mentioned they will equip 5550 with Type B valve gear. What was your best train catch over the years? My best train catch would have to be Amtrak-8 number 513 in Phase 4 livery back in 2015. What was your favorite memory from 2024? All of the events of the 2024 National Railway Historical Society Convention in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Are you excited for the new year? I definitely am, especially that I'm planning some special trips this year. What is your favorite season to railfan? Definitely the fall. Can you talk more about the Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia Railroad? Maybe. What is your favorite steam and diesel locomotives? My favorite steam locomotive is the Pennsylvania Railroad K4S class. My favorite diesel locomotives is the EMD SD40 series. The Alco DL535Es built for the White Pass and Yukon are pretty close. What is your favorite Norfolk and Western steam locomotive? The 611. Any model train advice? I actually don't have an operating layout at the moment. When UP 3985 gets restored back into operating condition, do you think that UP will be willing to pull off a doubleheader with it and the big boy, or even a tripleheader with the living legend 844 tagged along? Not really sure if UP is willing to do either of those, but we'll see what cool events will take place once 3985 and 5511 are back up and running. What is your overall opinion on live steam railroading regardless of gauge/scale? I have always liked models that actually produce steam. How do you feel about New York Central 3001 returning to steam? I am so glad that New York Central will receive much more attention in terms of preservation. And how would you think that Perlin would react if he was still alive? I would hope he would realize that people actually care about New York Central's history. Thoughts on the Wenatchee Railroad? I think it would be more noticeable once one of my friends completes the restoration of Wenatchee Tank Engine number 9. What were the greatest highlights you caught in 2024? CSX's Seaboard Coastline Heritage Unit, and seeing both the East Broad Top number 16 and Pennsylvania Railroad 643 under steam. What are your favorite steam, electric, and diesel locomotives? For steam, the Pennsylvania Railroad K4S. For diesel, between the SD40 series and the DL535Es. And for electric locomotives, the GG1s. What are your most favorite Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 railroads? Norfolk Southern, Wheeling and Lake Erie, and the Everett Railroad. When did you get the idea for railroading news? Around the time I felt rail preservation organizations needed more support after the pandemic. What are your thoughts that Reading 2100 will run on oil instead of coal? I honestly would rather 2100 to be an oil burner. in order to operate on the host railroads that have invited American Steam Railroad, as the group has mentioned their host railroads prefer the 2100 to be an oil burner, as they probably don't have the infrastructure to support coal-fired engines, including coal loaders and ash pans. What advice could you give in terms of bringing a railroad back from the dead as a freight/tourist operation? From the perspective of someone who's never really worked in the industry before but has seen several tourist/freight operations, I would say know what industries a potential railroad could serve, as freight generates more revenue for the business. Also, I noticed that tourist railroads will likely get more people if they are close to any other major cities or any other popular attractions. That's really all I have to say from an unexperienced perspective. Do you think that 1218 should be restored to operating condition? Not currently, as the Virginia Museum of Transportation volunteers are busy maintaining 611. What do you think about Flying Scotsman? Definitely the most traveled locomotive, as it has toured the UK, the United States, a little bit of Canada, and Australia throughout its life. Should a Hammersley Iron SD50S from Australia get preserved? Yes. Which preserved diesel locomotive is my favorite? The White Pass and Yukon DL535Es. Thoughts on the scrapping of GNR D51 steam locomotive number 51 in December 2023? It's very unfortunate. What was the most surprising announcement this year? Probably New York Central 3001 to be restored to operation. What is your favorite tourist railroad? The Cass Scenic Railroad. What was my favorite announcement this year? Chesapeake and Ohio 614 to be restored to operation. What was your initial reactions on New York Central 3001 and Chesapeake and Ohio 614 getting restored? Steam preservation has a brighter future ahead. Favorite New England restoration? Maine Central 462 Pacific number 470. Can you cover more southeastern-based news, specifically Louisiana and Mississippi, if there is any? I'll be on the lookout for more railroad news/events in both of those states. Well, that is all the questions for 2025. Once again, thank you all so much for those who participated. To get notified when more exciting videos are uploaded, click on the subscribe button and click on the bell button. I will leave a playlist and a video that YouTube will recommend for you up above. Also, thank you all so much for your likes, comments, and subscriptions for helping this YouTube channel support more rail preservation projects. Here's to a great and exciting 2025. This is Transcontinental Rail Fan, out.